From viral skits to brand deals with major companies, today we're sitting down with Andrew McKenna, a rising TikTok star who's turned his passion for content creation into a full-blown career. With over 424,000 followers and 70 million likes on TikTok, Andrew's relatable comedy and college-focused content has made him a standout in the social media world. In this interview, Andrew opens up about what inspired him to pursue social media, his creative process, and how he's built a niche that resonates with millions. He also shares insights into working with brands, why he chose to stay independent, and some of his goals for this upcoming year. Whether you're a fan of his content or an aspiring content creator, Andrew's story is packed with lessons, so let's dive in. Well, I know you started on TikTok 2020 with your brother, and I wanted to hear a little bit about your background, and I was wondering if you could share a little bit about it and what initially inspired you to start creating content.
Yeah, sure thing. So as you said, I started with my brother back in 2020. We just had a lot of free time back with COVID and everything, and figured might as well start making some videos. And so I started on my own account. It didn't go anywhere. And then he came to me and he's like, "Yo, let's do an account together and just see where we can go." Yeah, we just had a lot of free time. We made a bunch of random videos and eventually we made one skit about like Karens or something, and it took off. So us two together, we were making videos for probably about 2 years, and it was great. The inspiration for that, I guess, was just we saw other content creators at the time making a lot of money, and TikTok was kind of this new thing that seemed like an opportunity where we could, there wasn't a super big barrier to entry. Like anyone could get big.
That's awesome. So at what moment did you kind of realize that like content creation could be more than just a hobby for you and actually become something that's like somewhat of a career?
I've always like seen a vision of the potential to make a ton of money just because there are so many examples of people that are just regular people that make it. I figure, once you see your first 100,000 view video or first million view video, it's like, well, you have 100,000 people watching you. You just need them to pay you $1. And then suddenly you've made six figures a year. Or if you get a million, then you just need them to pay $1. And then you made $1 million a year. So it's kind of just once you get the views, there's always some type of way to make money out of it. You just have to figure out how to do that. And I think once I realized that the views can translate to money, then I figured that a career could come from it.
I know you started your account or started TikTok initially with your brother. Walk me through kind of like when you decided to leave your TikTok account with your brother. I know you said you guys went to different colleges. Kind of what was that decision like? And also tell me like what is your relationship like now? And do you guys have like any sort of rivalry and like competition between each other? And how does that look like?
Yeah, so the whole reason that we even split off, because originally we weren't going to, but going into senior year, I realized that there was a pretty large potential that we would not be going to the same colleges. Anyways, we didn't expect to go to the same colleges, and I was like, well, we have this account that's huge, um, but that's going to be a really awkward conversation come, a year later. So I figured I might as well just bite the bullet. Nothing against him. I just had a little more drive to really make it succeed. And I kind of just wanted the freedom to be able to make my own videos whenever I felt like it. So I started my own account, posted 4 times a day, every single day for about a year straight, and grew it to about 120,000 followers. So then, whenever we were going to separate colleges, I think he ended up at like 240,000 and I had 120,000. But it was still a big enough like following where I felt comfortable just giving him full access to the account, and I could
Hmm.
just kind of keep growing mine the way that it is. Since then, our I'd say our relationship has grown more because we used to fight about videos. We used to fight about like the just I guess creative direction that we wanted to go and just like scheduling differences, and it was just
Hmm.
little sibling rivalries or whatever. But now that we have our own separate thing, I can do my own thing. I can make as many videos as I want, and it doesn't even matter if mine do well because if his aren't doing well, then that's on him. But now we are extremely close in follower counts. I think I just passed him last week, and because of that, we've been having this little rivalry back and forth. I'm going to see him next week, and we're going to continue that. And it's just really easy to grow with somebody else who is very similar in size to you because you can have a rivalry that's like sparked between your audiences.
Yeah, no, definitely. You were mentioned a little bit earlier when you're talking kind of about your creative process. So I want to kind of hear like what is your creative process when you're brainstorming new content? And do you have kind of a set structure or is it more spontaneous and on the spot? And like how do you come up with ideas, especially with the intention of kind of keeping your audience like always engaged?
Yeah, so I mean, it has changed significantly throughout the years, but my current creative process, which I think is pretty refined, is it takes about an hour and a half for me to make a video. And what I do now is I get some type of idea. I'm kind of at the point in my content creation where like used to I'd have to sit and really think about ideas and just try to figure it out, but now I don't know if it's just because I've done it so many times, but
Mhm.
ideas they just kind of happen, and the more you do them, the easier they just come from. So I don't know. I don't really have to think of ideas anymore. Sometimes I look at the comment sections and they'll just tell me ideas, or I'm just scrolling my For You page and it just inspiration strikes. But once I have the idea, I will sit down and try to write a script. And I always try to write the script to be about a minute long. I kind of know exactly how long the link needs to be to reach around a minute because I don't get paid if it's not a minute long.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, then I write the script and that takes maybe another 30 minutes. And then once that's all set up, I get my cameraman because usually I'm filming with somebody else. Get my cameraman, we go to the UGA campus and just knock out a video within 30 to 45 minutes.
Love hearing the behind the scenes. And specifically talking about like your content. I know it's evolved over time. How would you say kind of like you balance, your content between sticking like to your specific niche and kind of going along with like certain trends on the app and like has there ever been a time where it's kind of been like a point of conflict or like a big shift, I guess?
So I guess whenever I first started on this new account, like the account that I currently have, I
Mm.
was I only followed trends. I didn't have any original content. I would just follow the trends. I'd have the music and sometimes I'd be speaking in the videos, but most of it was just very short 10-second videos and it was all trending
Mhm.
stuff. But really, the problem with only following trends is it doesn't make you original and nobody's gonna follow someone who doesn't have like why would they follow you when they could see 10 other videos that are exactly the same, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
So whenever I came to college, I made one skit video that I just thought was funny, and it was a minute long, and it was a little bit more original, and that's kind of where it evolved. So I started making these skits and stuff, and because of that, I saw significant increases in the amount of followers. I was like, wow, this is interesting. The engagement's higher, people seem to like this content better, and people started to like kind of recognize who I was more so than just the videos.
Kind of on the business side of things, I know you do a lot of brand collaborations. Like, take me back to kind of when you first started doing brand collabs and like tell me about how that experience has been and what have some of your favorite experiences working with brands and if has there been any really cool opportunities that you've enjoyed doing that?
Yeah, okay. So my first one that I ever did that I consider like a real brand was this government organization called City Year. I didn't know anything about them, but I like legitimately I quoted them a price, which looking back, yeah, I significantly undercharged. But I quoted them a price that I thought was crazy and they said yes. And I was like, "Oh my God. Like this is insane." And that was my first like experience with a brand deal that like was significant enough where I was like, wow, maybe I can make some real money off of this. And then as the viewership grew and as everything else is like, as I've become better at like reading my emails and responding in a more professional manner, because that was something that I really had to learn, was trying to sound professional when I was like 16 years old, just responding to these,
Yeah.
40-year-old CEOs or whatever. But over the years, I've worked with some pretty big brands. Amazon was huge. Just did Discover, been working with JBL. I'm still working with JBL. One of my favorite brands to work with was Ross, like Dress for Less. They
Mm.
gave me they gave me 4 or 5 gift cards and basically just said go to the store, go crazy, go like spend this much in this category and spend this much in another category, and then come back and make some videos. I was like, okay, that's awesome.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you founded McKenna Media Services somewhat recently. What kind of inspired you to start your own company, and like how does that operation work? Also, just to add on to that, like I know there's a lot of content creators who kind of signed, with an agency or something, and I assume this means that you work kind of independently and on your own, and like how. Like, has there been anybody reaching out to you, and like, what is that decision like?
Bro, you've done your research because I don't think that's for public information. Um, yeah, no, I founded McKenna Media Services back in April of last year. And how do you know that? That's crazy.
I had to do my research. I had to come prepared.
Yeah, I guess
So,
so. Um, founded that back in April of last year because you get some like pretty significant tax write-offs whenever you're like an LLC. But yeah, so that's like why I formed it. But also it is the reason that I work independent is because I get approached by these management companies or whatever, and sometimes they sound really good, but realistically, like it's not that hard for me to respond to emails. And I've become good enough over the years to negotiate deals on my own behalf where I am happy with the money that comes out of them. And I don't necessarily know that, a management company would have my best interest at heart because I
mm,
mean, they have to take usually I think industry standards like 20%.
uh,
And just for responding to emails, I don't know how much they'd be benefiting me.
yeah, that's fair. Um, One final question I want to ask is like, where do you kind of see yourself going forward? I know you're like studying in college, but then you're also like, content creator. What should we expect from you, I guess, in the next in the near horizon?
Yeah, well, assuming TikTok doesn't get banned, I'm gonna try to grow this as big as possible. My goal for the year is to hit 1 million followers, which would be impressive because I'd be over doubling my account. But that is the goal is to hit 1 million followers by the end of the year, assuming TikTok doesn't get banned.
Anyways, thank you so much for coming on, and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, no problem. Hope you have a good rest of your day, man.